Well, I think we should probably go ahead and get started. The first item on the agenda, I wanted to just have an opportunity for the Monogo to tell us about what they're doing in the private 5G space. Um, but I don't see him on, so we can come back to it if he does attend. So please do add to the agenda anything that I've missed here. Why don't we go ahead and start with infrastructure, Eric? I took note one, Jenkins been updated. I didn't know the exact version number, but you said a recent LTS, so that's what I recorded. And the Aether registry is up and running, and it includes it has the most recent releases of all the images, and there's a proxy running that will pull from Docker Hub in the future. Anything more to say about that, Eric?
No, not really. I think that's a good summary.
I just wanted to confirm because what we've tested so far is against the proxy, but you do if we just went directly to the registry, we would still find the latest releases. Is that? I want to make sure I understood that correctly.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there's basically two caveats to that. One is that the proxy will pull anything. So if there's, some images that are being pulled that are not part of ONOS or OMEC, those are still going to need to get pulled from Docker Hub if you're not using the proxy, if you're just using our repos. And the other thing is they are grabbed. They're well, there is a daily script that checks for updates to the images and any new release tags. So if something was released and you wanted to test against it, an hour or two later, using our repos, it might not be updated. Whereas if you pushed it, the proxy would immediately see that change and pull in the latest image.
Pushed it to where?
So if we're pushing just to Docker Hub,
Mm-hmm.
which all of this kind of would enable us to do that, to not go in and change all those jobs. Now, mind you, we're changing them anyway, so it may be kind of a moot point if we start just pushing directly to our registry as well as Docker Hub, which there's not much reason not to do. Um, so at that point, our registry would have all of the latest images too.
Right.
But as of right now, it's using a script to, where it has an automated job to pull all the latest release images over from Docker Hub.
Okay. All right. So the way in which you seeded the registry with what the latest releases in Docker Hub, not only was not just a one-time move. You have a script that runs, well, how often was it again?
Daily.
Daily. All right. So, and then the ultimate answer there is, of course, you're publishing to um, our registry, but we're not doing that consistently yet,
Correct.
or maybe at all. All right. So it should be the case if I am happy with it being potentially a day late, pulling directly from the registry against all of the images that we're publishing should work. I haven't
Yeah.
tried it. Yeah, okay.
Yes. And
Proxy is a safety net in some sense.
yeah. And I could also add that um, between now and when we start pushing directly to our registry, when those jobs are changed, there is also the fact that if you said something to me over Slack and said, "Hey, can you kick off that job?" I could go do
Yeah.
it, and then our registry would have the latest images too. So it's not like it's impossible to get them within a day. I just I want to note that that is a potential gap there.
Okay, got you. And in terms of what the script covers, um, the OMEC project images, the ONOS project images. I wanted to confirm, did you move it? Is Atomics there as well?
Uh, no, it's not. So if I need to do that one as well, I can.
Could you go ahead and do that one?
Yeah, I didn't realize that was one of ours. So yeah, I can definitely do that.
All right. If that's in, so I tried loading through the proxy, um, the rock related, which is Odo's project and atomics, and was not successful, but I didn't look into why. Just kicking off one of my jobs, Jenkins jobs. All right. Thanks for the update. Anyone have questions for Eric? All right. Let me just make note here. Um, so there's also a daily script that copies latest from Docker Hub to the registry. Okay. I'm just for everyone's understanding here, I think going through the proxy still requires the proxy to check back in with Docker Hub on every pull, I believe, just to make sure it has the most recent copy, and that still leads to that outside call and potential throttling. So it would
I
be best
don't
if we could pull directly from our registry.
I don't think we'll get throttled for that. And also the user that is connected to the registry is a paid user, so they have a pretty high cap anyway.
Oh, it is.
Um,
It is a registered user. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So we've got all kinds of backup plans here. Thanks.
Hmm.
Um,
I wanted to ask that registry, is that an OCI registry, Eric?
Sorry?
The registry, the Ether registry, is that OCI compliant, do you know, or what version of Harbor are you using?
I'm not sure if it's OCI compliant. We're using uh 2.9.1.
Oh, I think it should be then. Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah,
Thanks.
it's pretty recent.
Yeah, good. Thanks.
that's
Okay,
what I
yeah, I can
sure.
confirm that our current version is OCI compliant.
Cool.
Oh, Sean. So I modified the rock values override file. The registry, there's a global block. I don't know if you're familiar with that. And then what was a little uncertain to me was you got the rock umbrella chart, you've got the Onos umbrella, and there was so much nesting there. I wasn't quite sure everyone was following the same naming convention on the YAML file. Do you happen to know?
Uh, so the values file you adjusted, was that the on-ramp version, or is it in the Rock Helm charts repo?
It's the on-ramp. It's the on-ramp version.
Yeah. So yeah, you can pass through the registry location will get passed through to subcharts that have been pulled back in. So like if Onus Umbrella was pulled into Ether Rock Umbrella, it would, or any one of its children, like say for instance, like Onus Config was pulled into
Yep.
Rock Helm charts umbrella. Yes, the values that you specify for the alternate registry, or like the local registry, would get passed down.
I know in principle that's the case, but it would seem that it would kind of depend on what you were paying attention to. And I don't know if this is by convention or not, but there's a dot global block with an image variable, subvariable registry.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it really is kind of implementation dependent, I would say. I usually I use the Helm template command to know what the actual output will be like, and that helps me see if
Yeah.
values are indeed being read properly.
Yep. Thanks. Okay. Sorry for that diversion. Let's go to the SD core.
All right, so I guess the first point is mine. So Patricia in my team was working on changes to web console to make sure that delete on a UPF or a GNodeB would propagate properly to network slices that contain them. And there were some issues that transactions would help with. So she was looking into that. And the unfortunate thing with Mongo is that you can only use transactions if you're on a replica set or a sharded cluster and not in standalone mode. Mongo Mongo says that the standalone mode is not for production deployment, and right now I think the Helm charts and what we do in Canonical with Charm Detour as the core, we use replica set, and I think the Helm charts also do. So we would like to start enforcing that MongoDB uses a replica set and start supporting transactions. Right now, we don't think it would break anything, but I wanted to bring that up at the TST to see if anyone is using standalone mode with Mongo and if it's expected to break something.
As far as I remember, we have the standalone mode only in the Aether in a box or on ramp. But we did enable replica set. Did you check the Helm chart? There is an option about replica set count. And when we used to maintain the Pronto setup, right? That time we were running the MongoDB in the 3 instances, if I'm not wrong. Right. So I mean, I can point you to the configuration which says that like you can change it and make it because see one of the thing we use. I remember one of the feature we were using which was only available on the replica set, and that was the trigger for us to add that capability in the Helm chart. So yes, and I agree that it doesn't make any difference for the SD core whether it's a single instance or multi-instance. So if you find any gaps in the Helm chart, go ahead and make the changes. But as far as I think, it's there. Support is already there. In
Okay,
the Helm
great.
chart.
Right. So yeah, what we want to do is make that web console checks that Mongo is running with a replica set or sharded cluster and refuse to work with standalone mode, so that we support transaction and don't have to have two code paths depending on if you have transactions or not. So I think it's already done. Patricia quickly looked at the Helm charts, and I think it's already properly done. So I can go through again and make sure to validate that, and that should be good.
And thanks. And just for the record, OnRamp brings up MongoDB with replica set enabled.
Okay, great. So that would just be putting what we already do in pretty much all deployments and enforce it.
Yep.
Great. And the next action item, the next item is also me. It's mostly an informational point. We're working. Gulsum is working a lot on the Helm charts right now, trying to make it work with AF packet mode. She's having some issue. I was working with her today. I think I was able to unblock her a bit. But the idea is to try to enable end-to-end tests and GitHub actions once we on PRs. So if we do a change, for example, in the AMF, it's able to build that new version of the AMF and run a full test with the rest of the core with that. So we're continuing on that. It will probably be something that won't be able to just run on GitHub Actions, however, because the runners that we have on GitHub, the public runners are limited, I think, to 7 or 8 gigs of RAM. So it will probably not run there. There are larger runners that you can use in the GitHub infrastructure, but there's some billing involved. So I don't think we will be able to use that. Otherwise, we could also use some runners on infrastructure, probably something that along Jenkins or something like that. But yeah, we'll be continuing work on that. But ideally, that would let us run end-to-end test on PRs, so it would automate a lot of manual work that's done right now.
Right, so you may run into runners limitations
Yep.
and need well, let's see. I guess that doesn't necessarily imply Jenkins, but you might need you might need to spin up a VM somewhere.
Maybe could be Jenkins a good alternative, because the other thing, I don't know, Gisland, whether the issue about publishing the image got resolved, given that in a PR you cannot share secrets.
Yeah, so it might still be some issues making that work with GitHub. So maybe we can use Jenkins also for that. But yeah, right now we'll continue to work on that. So Gulsum is continuing to make sure that she can run actually the test, and we can work on if we put it on GitHub or Jenkins or whatever afterwards.
Gisland, one question. It says support F packet model in Helm charts. What exactly do you mean with that?
Yeah, it's when I wrote this, it's not exactly this, because it does support AF packet mode for the
Right.
UPF. It's when I was quickly talking to Gulsum, the way she explained it was a bit unclear to me. But yeah, the AF packet mode is supported properly in the on charts. It's just that the infrastructure running the on charts needs to have the right interfaces that match the configuration for the network attachment definitions and things like that. So we're looking into that automation right now to see if we can automate the end-to-end test on PR. So really the goal is that we're continuing to work on automating end-to-end tests for PRs.
Yes. Yeah. Certainly, that's a good kind of thing to have, so we can actually automate this part, and there is no manual testing involved in this end-to-end.
So when you say end to end, what is it used for workload? Is it GNB SIM?
GNVC.
Yep.
GNVC, yes.
Okay, so effectively, we already have a Jenkins job that runs an end-to-end test. I only run it daily, and I don't trigger. It's never triggered by PRs, but it could be triggered by PRs, and we would be done, maybe.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Probably that would be also an alternative to kind of take a closer look into that, because as Gisle mentioned, the public runners on GitHub infrastructure does have limited computing capabilities. And then here you need to deploy a Kubernetes cluster in there, right? So as far as I remember, Wilson is trying to kind of use just a kind cluster such that uses less resources, kind of like a minimum cluster. So, but the key piece in here is, and the other part is that the idea is to use this end-to-end test for the different images that get created. So for example, in the AMF, there is a PR that needs to create something. It needs kind of to push that image somewhere, or even a local registry, but you need to push that image somewhere to be able to use it for the end-to-end deployment. And to push that image, you need some kind of secrets. And for PRs, secrets are basically not shared from the outside. So that's why probably from that side, maybe Jenkins an alternative to this.
Yeah, I'll definitely look into that job because I think it would solve some of the issues that we'll have anyway on GitHub with the runners and anything. And if it already exists, then we would just need to to modify that job to be able to take custom images, because that's really the goal, is that if you're doing a change on the AMF or the SMF, you take this current deployment and you replace with that new version of the AMF or SMF, and you run the test with that. So you know that you're not breaking the that test and the whole core when merging that PR. So that would help the development team tremendously, not having to deploy custom deployments just to run some tests.
Right.
So I'll take a look into those Jenkins job and
Yeah, if you need
discuss
any
with those.
pointers, get a hold of me and I can. There's an Aether Jenkins repo that has all the Groovy scripts for these jobs in it, and one of them is Quick Start, which is basically the minimum, bring up GNB Sim in the core. And as you say, it would need to be modified to work with candidate images as opposed to the published ones, but it should be doable.
Okay, great.
All right,
I
nice.
just shared the link.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. I see. Yeah, so I think you've got the last bullet.
Yeah, so just kind of like not much activity on the core itself. So there were multiple PRs opened by the Dependabot, like the dependency updates over the weekend. So that basically got tested, review tested, and merged yesterday. So we're up to date on that side, from security issues and latest dependencies as well. But probably there is one part missing, bullet point missing from your side, Ajay, regarding the DRSM.
Oh, yeah, I did not add it. Like that's fine. I think so. Larry, I had just raised one of the PR on the DRSM, which is used when that's a module used when we have multiple AMF and SMF instances. So Gabriel had pointed out that there's a likely chance that DRSM has too many logs, which is leading to performance issues. So just cleaning up those logs, and yeah, I mean, like, I'm not sure. Maybe like if you get time, maybe like Gabriel, you can have one run to see if it's improving or not. Otherwise, we may have to take some other changes in the DRSM.
But yeah, no, it's not just the timing itself, Ajay, but it's also lots of logs coming from the DRSM that is kind of challenging to debug any issue, because all of them were basically at the info level, and that's where we became really a headache. So yesterday I ran a test with your PR. It maintains the amount of logging in a reasonable amount. I think it was like 70 something in the AMF. So, which is acceptable compared to before there were hundreds of those logs that basically the real information got lost, though the real logging, for the AMF got truly lost because of these DRSM, lots of logs of the same thing. So, but yeah, the main reason was, I think the issue was brought up by the iOS team, that they were trying to debug something on the UPF, in the AMF, but it was just, they were able to see only DRSM logs because there were lots of those logs. So as a temporary solution, what we did is we increased the logging level to 1 in Aether on ramp until the solution basically that Ajay is working on gets kind of merged. After that is merged, we can actually revert that change back on Aether on ramp to leave it in the regular info level.
Yeah, thanks, Gabriel.
Thank you.
Yeah, so just Gabriel, just to make sure I understand, you're suggesting we go back to the info level log on ramp, because that's not for performance, so it's for people to watch what's going on. Is that? But the default would be lower.
No. What I'm saying is that by default, the DRSM was reporting lots of logins. So basically, lots of logs were at the info level.
So you changed the default.
So what I did in on ramp, I increased the logging level to 1. So basically, there's not too much DRSM logs until the PR that the Aja is working on gets merged, so then we can actually remove that from on-ramp.
Well, what I was thinking is we might consider turning the logging level back on the info. It depends on
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, got it. All right.
Yep.
The default will be warning.
No,
the
default should
on-ramp
be info.
Yeah, got it. Thanks. Okay, anything else?
No,
I'm
the core
waiting for
itself.
some of the logs from the uh, uh, who's the
team?
person?
Joshua.
Yeah, Joshua. Like,
Yeah, I think it's the last bullet point that is in there, I believe, or not the last, the previous to the last, second to last in the ARA report, I guess.
okay, sure. Then we'll
He
wait.
mentions
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
Okay. SD-RAN, I see Wu Zhang is on. I don't.
Hello.
anything-
Yeah, so I just shared the release note to you at the end of last year, I believe, and then got some feedback. So I'm looking into it, and also Dennis shared the blog for the student release. So I'm reviewing it right now, and I believe once it's done, then I think we can announce something. And also Dennis suggested me about the webinar for it. So yeah, I think that is a good idea to introduce how the SD-WAN 1.5 is working, and probably I think I can briefly provide some kind of the simple demos. And also I would like to introduce our new engineering team as well there, so that they can speak up there, and then try to provide some effort what they push it to our project last year. So that is my idea for the release, and then I'm preparing it right now. So I believe that then once the blog content is reviewed and done, then I think we are ready to go for the next release.
Yeah, the notes looked fine to me. I didn't offer any detailed comments, but I thought they were perfectly good.
Yeah. And other than that, this week, I think we will start planning for SD-WAN 1.6 release. The target date should be around this year, August, because something we need to I mean, well, something I think I need a long time to refactor some Go versions and APIs to resolve all the dependable there. So I think August could be the right candidate date for the next release 1.6. And for that, we will start planning and we will I will let you know what is the scope for the SD-WAN 1.6 release. Yeah, that's all for SD-WAN.
So did you say August?
Yeah, August.
Thanks. Anything else? Anyone?
I think that's all for SD-WAN at this time. Yeah.
All right. Not too much on on-ramp. We've already talked about the registry issue, and I'm still debugging, making sure that we're pulling the right images in for rock. SD-RAN, I'll take a look. It shouldn't be too hard to change that either. Wuzhang, unless you wanted to change it before me.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe Gabriel or who the
Yeah.
SRS RAN blueprint.
Yeah, so to kind of communicate that we have connected a Pixel 7 phone using the SRS RAN blueprint internet connection. At least from the core network perspective, there was the Pixel phone requires IMS connection, so it expects one parameter of the IMS network to be there, set to 1 basically on the AMF. But you can add to this phone to the list of devices that have been connected to the or have tested with the Aether TST core.
Nice. So we'll need to coordinate on the blueprint itself, which by default uses a simulator, but by setting the appropriate variables, it'd be nice if that one blueprint can go both ways.
Say it again.
By default, the SRS-RAN blueprint uses the UE simulator.
Correct.
If you want to actually connect a Pixel 7a phone, then you may need a new values file. Depends on what what defaults you're set, parameters.
Oh, it is already there.
It's already there. Okay, so all you would have to do is change the simulator mode to false.
Well, the simulator to false and the file that is being used. That's it.
Okay, good. We'll just make sure it gets documented then clearly. Yeah, good.
I believe it's already documented. I think Suresh did that as far as I remember.
Okay, I hadn't looked at it in a little while. All right, thanks. Okay, ARA.
Yeah, so this is Tianyi. Actually, Joshua is busy with some other thing today, so I will cover both our SD run side and SD core. Yeah, for the SD run side, we are still trying to see what we can do and like how we can make contribution. So until now, I think our idea is still like, we want to focus more on like XF on network slicing. And for spectrum sharing, we understand that this is more for like the RU side, but still we are trying to see how we can like make any progress on the spectral sharing part. Maybe it requires some action on the near real-time RIC or XF, and we are still looking for this part. Yeah. And for the SD core side, yeah, I think AJ also mentioned like about the logs on the Slack, and we also need most. We may need to provide more logs about that. Yeah, Joshua will work with AJ on this part, and also he makes some refinement on the blueprint of the SD core side. Yeah.
Yeah, let me know when you'd like someone to take a look at the blueprint definition and just maybe provide some feedback on it, but happy to do that.
Okay.
Right. So we do not need to go back to the top item. I don't see anyone on. I have to follow up and see what the deal is. Is there anything else? All right. Thanks, everyone. See you all next week.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye all.